Chapter 1. Aelara crouched behind the dense foliage, her heart pounding in her chest as she watched the wizard's tower from afar. The elf had been tracking the mysterious sorcerer for weeks, determined to uncover the secrets behind his alleged possession of a unicorn. Tales of the creature's captivity had spread throughout the land, and Aelara knew she had to act fast. As night fell, Aelara made her move. She silently approached the tower, her keen elven senses alert for any signs of danger. The tower loomed before her, its dark stone walls seeming to pulse with an eerie magical energy. Aelara took a deep breath and began to scale the tower, her nimble fingers finding purchase in the cracks and crevices of the ancient masonry. Halfway up the tower, a sudden gust of wind nearly knocked Aelara off balance. She clung to the wall, her heart racing as she realized the wind was not natural. The wizard knew she was here. A deep, menacing voice echoed through the night air. "Who dares trespass upon my domain?" Aelara remained silent, pressing herself against the tower wall as she continued her ascent. She had come too far to turn back now. As she neared the top of the tower, a blinding flash of light erupted from a window above her. Aelara shielded her eyes, momentarily disoriented. When she looked up again, she found herself face to face with the wizard himself, his dark eyes glinting with malice. "An elf," he sneered. "How predictable. You've come for the unicorn, haven't you?" Aelara stood her ground, meeting the wizard's gaze with defiance. "Release the creature, wizard. It does not belong to you." The wizard laughed, a chilling sound that sent shivers down Aelara's spine. "You have no idea what you're meddling with, elf. The unicorn is mine, and mine alone." With a wave of his hand, the wizard sent a blast of magical energy hurtling towards Aelara. She leaped aside, barely avoiding the attack. As she rolled to her feet, she drew her enchanted bow and notched an arrow, aiming it directly at the wizard's heart. "Last chance, wizard," Aelara warned. "Release the unicorn, or face the consequences." The wizard's eyes narrowed, and he raised his hands, ready to unleash another spell. Aelara knew she had only moments to act. She took a deep breath, steadied her aim, and let the arrow fly. Chapter 2. The arrow streaked through the air, its enchanted tip glowing with a faint blue light. The wizard's eyes widened as he realized the danger, and he quickly summoned a shimmering shield of magical energy to deflect the projectile. The arrow shattered against the shield, its fragments scattering across the tower's rooftop. Aelara wasted no time, already reaching for another arrow. She knew she had to keep the wizard on the defensive, giving him no opportunity to unleash his full power. As she notched the arrow, she called out, "You cannot hide behind your magic forever, wizard. Face me and prove your worth." The wizard sneered, his dark eyes filled with contempt. "You dare challenge me, elf? You have no idea of the power I possess." With a flick of his wrist, he sent a barrage of fiery bolts hurtling towards Aelara. She dove to the side, the heat of the flames singeing her cloak as she rolled across the rooftop. Coming up to one knee, she fired another arrow, this one imbued with an icy enchantment. The wizard's shield absorbed the impact, but frost began to creep across its surface, weakening its structure. Aelara pressed her advantage, launching arrow after arrow at the wizard, each one carrying a different elemental enchantment. The wizard's shield began to crack under the onslaught, and he stumbled backward, his face contorted with rage and frustration. "Enough!" he bellowed, slamming his staff against the ground. A shockwave of raw magical energy erupted from the point of impact, rippling outwards and shattering Aelara's remaining arrows in mid-flight. The force of the blast knocked Aelara off her feet, sending her tumbling towards the edge of the tower. She managed to grab hold of the parapet at the last moment, her fingers scrabbling for purchase on the weathered stone. The wizard loomed over her, his staff glowing with an ominous red light. "Foolish elf," he mocked. "Did you truly believe you could stand against me? Now, you will pay the price for your insolence." As he raised his staff to deliver the final blow, Aelara's keen elven hearing picked up a faint sound from within the tower, a soft, mournful whimper that could only belong to the captive unicorn. Renewed determination surged through her veins, and she hauled herself back onto the rooftop with a defiant cry. "I will not fail," she declared, her eyes blazing with resolve. "The unicorn will be freed, and you will answer for your crimes, wizard." With lightning speed, Aelara drew her twin daggers and lunged at the wizard. catching him off guard. The two became locked in a deadly dance of steel and magic, trading blows and spells as they fought for dominance atop the tower. The battle raged on, neither side willing to yield. Aelara's agility and skill with her blades proved a match for the wizard's raw magical power, and slowly but surely she began to gain the upper hand. With a final, desperate effort, she managed to disarm the wizard, sending his staff clattering to the ground. "Yield," Aelara demanded, pressing the point of her dagger against the wizard's throat. "Release the unicorn, and I may yet spare your life." The wizard glared at her, hatred etched into every line of his face. "You have won nothing, elf," he spat. "The unicorn is mine, and mine alone. You will never." His words were cut short by a sudden, blinding flash of light from within the tower. Aelara turned, her eyes widening in amazement as a shimmering, ethereal figure emerged from the stairwell, the unicorn, its coat gleaming with an otherworldly radiance. The creature regarded Aelara with deep, knowing eyes, and in that moment, she understood that the unicorn had never been truly captive. It had allowed itself to be held by the wizard, waiting for the right moment to reveal its true power. With a gentle toss of its head, the unicorn beckoned Aelara to follow as it began to descend the tower stairs. Chapter 3. Aelara followed the unicorn down the winding tower stairs, her mind reeling with questions and her heart pounding with excitement. The ethereal creature moved with grace and purpose, its hooves making no sound on the stone steps. As they reached the base of the tower, the unicorn paused and turned to face Aelara. Its deep, wise eyes seemed to pierce her very soul, and she felt a sudden sense of calm wash over her. "Aelara," the unicorn spoke, its voice a melodic whisper that echoed in her mind. "You have shown great courage and determination in your quest to find me, but your journey is far from over." The elf bowed her head in respect, her voice filled with wonder. "I am honored to have found you, noble unicorn, but I don't understand. Why did you allow yourself to be held captive by the wizard?" The unicorn's gaze softened, and it replied, "There are forces at work in this world that even the wisest among us cannot fully comprehend. My captivity was necessary, for it brought you here to this moment." Aelara furrowed her brow, trying to make sense of the unicorn's cryptic words. "What do you mean? What is my role in all of this?" "You, Aelara, are destined for greatness," the unicorn revealed. "The path ahead will be fraught with danger and uncertainty, but you must trust in yourself and in the power that lies within you." The unicorn turned and began to walk towards the dense forest that surrounded the tower. Aelara fell into step beside the creature, her mind buzzing with the implications of its words. As they entered the forest, the unicorn spoke again. "There is a great evil rising in the land, an ancient power that seeks to consume all in its path. Only you, Aelara, have the strength and the courage to stand against it." Aelara felt a chill run down her spine at the unicorn's words. She had heard whispers of a growing darkness, but had never imagined that she would play a role in combating it. "But how?" she asked, her voice tinged with uncertainty. "I am just one elf, and I have no great power or magic." The unicorn stopped and turned to face her once more. "You underestimate yourself, Aelara. The power within you is greater than you know. It is the power of your spirit, your determination, and your unwavering sense of what is right." Aelara felt a surge of emotion at the unicorn's words, a mix of fear and exhilaration. She knew that the journey ahead would be difficult, but with the unicorn by her side, she felt a newfound sense of purpose and resolve. "Where do we go from here?" she asked, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. The unicorn's horn began to glow with a soft, silvery light. "We must seek out the ancient wisdom of the elders, for they hold the key to unlocking your true potential. Our path will take us deep into the heart of the forest, to a place long forgotten by most." Aelara nodded, her eyes shining with determination. "Lead the way, noble unicorn. I am ready to face whatever lies ahead." As the two set off deeper into the forest, Aelara couldn't help but feel a sense of awe and wonder at the incredible turn her life had taken. She knew that the road ahead would be long and difficult, but with the unicorn by her side and the power of her own spirit to guide her, she felt ready to face anything. The forest seemed to whisper with ancient secrets as they walked, and Aelara knew that her true quest was only just beginning. Chapter 4. The Heart of the Forest. As Aelara and the unicorn ventured deeper into the forest, the air grew thick with a sense of ancient magic. The trees seemed to whisper secrets to one another, their branches swaying in a gentle breeze that carried the scent of moss and wildflowers. The unicorn moved with purpose, its steps sure and steady as it navigated the winding path. Aelara followed close behind, her senses heightened and her mind alert to any potential dangers. The heart of the forest is a sacred place, the unicorn explained as they walked. It is where the elders gather to share their wisdom and commune with the spirits of the land. Aelara nodded, her eyes wide with wonder. She had heard stories of the elders, but had never dared to imagine that she would one day seek their counsel. As they pressed on, the forest grew denser and more mysterious. The trees towered overhead, their trunks thick and gnarled with age. The air hummed with a strange energy, and Aelara could feel the hairs on the back of her neck standing on end. Suddenly, the unicorn stopped and raised its head, its ears twitching, as if listening to some unheard voice. Aelara tensed, her hand instinctively reaching for her bow. "We are not alone," the unicorn whispered, its voice low and cautious. Aelara scanned the surrounding trees, her keen elven eyes searching for any sign of movement. At first, she saw nothing, but then a flicker of shadow caught her attention. From behind a large oak tree, a figure emerged, cloaked in a deep green hood that obscured its face. Aelara drew her bow, ready to defend herself and the unicorn if necessary. "Peace, young elf," the figure spoke, its voice old and wise. "I mean you no harm." The figure lowered its hood, revealing the weathered face of an ancient elf, his eyes glinting with the wisdom of ages past. "I am Eldrin, one of the elders of the forest," he introduced himself, bowing his head in respect to the unicorn. "We have been expecting you." Aelara lowered her bow, her heart racing with a mix of excitement and trepidation. "You have." Eldrin nodded, a small smile playing at the corners of his mouth. "The spirits whispered of your coming, Aelara. They spoke of a brave elf with a destiny intertwined with the fate of the land." The unicorn stepped forward, its horn glowing softly in the dappled light of the forest. "Aelara seeks the wisdom of the elders, Eldrin. She must learn to harness the power within her if she is to stand against the rising evil." Eldrin's eyes grew serious, and he beckoned for them to follow. "Come then, the elders await." As they walked, Alara's mind raced with questions. What power did she possess? How could she possibly stand against the darkness that threatened the land? But as they approached a clearing in the heart of the forest, Aelara felt a sense of calm wash over her. The air thrummed with ancient magic, and she could feel the presence of the elders, their wisdom and strength palpable even from a distance. In the center of the clearing stood a circle of ancient trees, their branches intertwined to form a natural cathedral. And there, seated on a throne of twisted roots, was the eldest of the elders, her eyes shining with a knowing light. "Welcome, Aelara," she spoke, her voice ringing with power. "Your journey has only just begun." Chapter 5. The Elders' Wisdom. Aelara approached the circle of elders, her heart pounding with a mix of reverence and anticipation. The eldest elder, seated on her throne of twisted roots, exuded an aura of timeless wisdom and power. The other elders, cloaked in shades of green and brown, stood around her, their eyes fixed upon Aelara. The unicorn bowed its head in respect, its horn shimmering in the filtered light of the forest canopy. Aelara followed suit, lowering herself to one knee before the assembled elders. "Rise, child of the forest," the eldest elder spoke, her voice gentle yet commanding. "We have much to discuss." Aelara stood, her eyes meeting the elder's gaze. In those ancient eyes, she saw the weight of countless years and the depth of knowledge that could only be gained through lifetimes of experience. "The spirits have whispered of a great evil stirring in the shadows," the elder continued, her expression grave. "An ancient foe, long thought vanquished, seeks to rise once more and plunge the land into darkness." Aelara's heart quickened at the elder's words. She had sensed the growing unease in the forest, the subtle shifts in the balance of nature. But to hear it spoken aloud by one so wise and powerful made it all the more real. "But why me?" Aelara asked, her voice trembling slightly. "What can I possibly do against such a threat?" The eldest elder smiled, a knowing glint in her eyes. "You possess a power within you, Aelara, a strength that comes not from magic or might, but from the purity of your heart and the righteousness of your cause." The unicorn stepped forward, its voice ringing clear in the stillness of the clearing. "Aelara's spirit is strong, and her determination unwavering. She has already proven herself by facing the wizard and freeing me from captivity." The elders nodded in agreement, their expressions softening as they regarded Aelara with newfound respect. "But to truly harness your power," the eldest elder continued, "you must first understand its source. You must delve deep within yourself and confront the fears and doubts that hold you back." Aelara's brow furrowed as she considered the elder's words. She had always been confident in her skills as a warrior and a hunter, but the idea of confronting her inner demons was a daunting prospect. "How do I begin?" she asked Afor. The eldest elder rose from her throne, her movements fluid and graceful despite her age. She approached Aelara and placed a gnarled hand on her shoulder. "You must undertake a journey of self-discovery," the elder explained, her eyes boring into Alara's. "A quest that will test your resolve and challenge your beliefs. Only by facing your deepest fears can you hope to unlock your true potential." Aelara swallowed hard, her mind reeling at the prospect of such a journey. But as she looked into the elder's eyes, she saw a flicker of hope and encouragement. "You will not be alone," the elder assured her, gesturing to the unicorn. "Your companion will guide you, and the spirits of the forest will watch over you, but the path ahead will be fraught with danger and uncertainty." Aelara took a deep breath, steeling herself for the challenges to come. She knew that the fate of the land rested on her shoulders, and she could not afford to falter. "I am ready," she declared, her voice ringing with newfound determination. "I will face whatever trials lie ahead and emerge stronger for it." The elders nodded in approval, their faces etched with a mix of pride and solemnity. "Then go forth, Aelara," the eldest elder proclaimed, her voice echoing through the clearing. "Seek the hidden places of the forest, the sacred groves and ancient ruins where the spirits whisper their secrets. Listen to their guidance and trust in the strength of your own heart." As Aelara and the unicorn turned to depart, the elders raised their hands in blessing, their voices rising in a haunting melody that seemed to weave itself into the very fabric of the forest. And so, Aelara set forth on her quest, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. Chapter 6. The journey begins. As Aelara and the unicorn left the heart of the forest behind, a sense of purpose and determination filled the elf's heart. The elder's words echoed in her mind, reminding her of the immense responsibility that lay ahead. She knew that the journey would be perilous, but she was ready to face whatever trials awaited her. The unicorn trotted alongside Aelara, its white coat gleaming in the dappled sunlight that filtered through the forest canopy. "Where do we begin?" Aelara asked, turning to her companion. The unicorn tilted its head, considering the question. "The spirits whisper of a hidden grove deep within the forest," it replied, its voice soft and melodic. "It is said to be a place of great power, where the veil between worlds is thin." Aelara nodded, adjusting her bow and quiver as she walked. "Then that is where we shall go," she declared, her voice firm with resolve. As they ventured deeper into the forest, the air seemed to thicken with a sense of ancient magic. The trees grew taller and more twisted, their branches intertwining overhead in a canopy that blocked out the sun. Strange whispers and rustlings emanated from the undergrowth, hinting at the presence of unseen creatures. Aelara's senses were on high alert, her eyes scanning the shadows for any sign of danger. She knew that the forest held many secrets, and not all of them were benevolent. Suddenly, a sharp cry pierced the air, causing Aelara to freeze in her tracks. The unicorn's ears pricked up, its eyes widening in alarm. "Something is amiss," it whispered, its voice tinged with urgency. Aelara drew her bow, nocking an arrow as she searched for the source of the disturbance. The cry came again, louder this time, and Aelara realized with a start that it was the sound of a creature in pain. Without hesitation, she plunged into the undergrowth, the unicorn close behind her. They emerged into a small clearing, where a young deer lay thrashing on the ground, its leg caught in a cruel snare. Aelara's heart wrenched at the sight of the helpless creature. She approached slowly, speaking in a soft, soothing voice. "Easy now," she murmured, reaching out to stroke the deer's flank. "I'm here to help." With deft fingers, Aelara worked to free the deer's leg from the snare. The unicorn watched, its eyes filled with compassion and understanding. As the snare fell away, the deer stumbled to its feet, its wide eyes fixed on Aelara in a mix of gratitude and fear. "Go now," Aelara whispered, stepping back to give the creature space. "You are free." The deer bounded away, disappearing into the forest with a flash of white tail. Aelara turned to the unicorn, her brow furrowed in concern. Who would set such a cruel trap? She wondered aloud. The unicorn shook its head, its expression grave. "There are those who seek to exploit the forest for their own gain," it replied, its voice heavy with sorrow. "They do not understand the delicate balance that must be maintained." Alara's jaw tightened with determination. "Then we must be vigilant," she declared, her eyes scanning the surrounding trees. "We cannot allow such cruelty to go unchecked." As they pressed on, Alara's mind raced with questions and uncertainties. She knew that the journey ahead would be fraught with challenges, both physical and emotional. But she also knew that she had the strength and courage to face whatever lay ahead. With the unicorn at her side and the wisdom of the elders to guide her, Aelara forged ahead, ready to uncover the secrets of the hidden grove and confront the rising evil that threatened the land. Chapter 7. The Hidden Grove. As the sun began to set, casting long shadows across the forest floor, Aelara and the unicorn pressed on, their determination unwavering. The air grew colder, and a thin mist crept between the trees, obscuring the path ahead. Despite the growing darkness, Alara's elven eyes could still discern the faint signs of the hidden grove's presence. "We're close," the unicorn whispered, its breath forming small clouds in the chilly air. "Can you feel it?" Aelara nodded, her skin tingling with the ancient magic that permeated the forest. "Yes, it's like a humming in my bones," she replied, her voice hushed with reverence. As they rounded a bend in the path, the mist parted, revealing a small clearing bathed in an ethereal glow. In the center of the clearing stood a massive tree, its trunk twisted and gnarled with age. The tree's branches reached towards the sky, adorned with leaves that shimmered like starlight. "The heart of the grove," the unicorn breathed, its eyes wide with wonder. "It is said that this tree has stood since the dawn of time, a guardian of the forest's secrets." Aelara approached the tree, her hand outstretched to touch its rough bark. As her fingers made contact, a surge of energy coursed through her, and images flashed before her eyes. "I can feel its power," Aelara whispered, her voice trembling with emotion. "But what does it want from me?" The unicorn stepped forward, its horn glowing softly in the darkness. "The tree has chosen you, Aelara," it said, its voice filled with certainty. "It senses your strength, your connection to the forest. It wants you to be its champion." Alara's heart raced at the revelation. She had always known that her path was intertwined with the forest, but to be chosen by the ancient tree itself was a responsibility she had never imagined. As she stood there, lost in thought, a sudden rustling in the undergrowth snapped her back to the present. The unicorn's ears pricked up, its body tense with alertness. "Something is coming," it warned, its voice low and urgent. Aelara drew her bow, her senses on high alert. She could feel a presence approaching, a dark energy that made the hairs on the back of her neck stand on end. The rustling grew louder, and a figure emerged from the shadows, its form cloaked in a dark, swirling mist. "Who are you?" Aelara demanded Dadine. The figure laughed, a sound that sent shivers down Alara's spine. "I am the one who will bring this forest to its knees," it hissed, its voice dripping with malice. "And you, little elf, will not stand in my way." With a wave of its hand, the figure sent a blast of dark energy towards Aelara, knocking her off her feet. The unicorn reared up, its horn glowing brightly as it charged towards the attacker. But the figure was too quick, dodging the unicorn's attack with ease. Aelara struggled to her feet, her mind racing as she tried to find a way to defeat the dark presence. She reached out to the ancient tree, pleading silently for its aid. And then, as if in answer to her prayer, she felt a surge of power flowing through her. With a cry of defiance, Aelara raised her bow, a shimmering arrow of pure light forming on the string. She took aim and released, watching as the arrow streaked towards the figure, piercing through the dark mist that surrounded it. The figure let out a howl of pain, its form dissolving into nothingness as the light arrow struck true. Aelara stood panting, her heart hammering in her chest as she watched the last wisps of darkness fade away. The unicorn approached, its eyes shining with pride. "You have done well, Aelara," it said, nuzzling her hand affectionately. "But this is only the beginning. The forest needs you now more than ever." Aelara nodded, her resolve strengthened by the unicorn's words. She knew that the path ahead would be long and difficult, but with the ancient tree's blessing and the unicorn at her side, she was ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. Chapter 8. The Path Ahead. As the first rays of dawn filtered through the canopy, Aelara and the unicorn emerged from the hidden grove, their hearts filled with a newfound sense of purpose. The ancient tree's blessing thrummed through Alara's veins, a constant reminder of her role as the forest's chosen champion. "Where do we go from here?" Aelara asked, her gaze sweeping across the vast expanse of the forest before them. The unicorn paused, its eyes distant as if searching for an answer in the swirling mists. "There is a place," it said at last, "a sacred glade where the spirits of the forest gather. It is there that we must seek guidance for the trials ahead." Aelara nodded, her determination unwavering. "Lead the way," she said, adjusting her bow across her back. As they set off, the forest seemed to come alive around them, the trees whispering secrets in the breeze. Alara's senses were heightened, attuned to the subtle shifts in the atmosphere. She could feel the pulse of the forest, the ebb and flow of its ancient magic. Hours passed as they trekked deeper into the heart of the forest, the terrain growing more treacherous with each step. Gnarled roots twisted underfoot, and thorny vines snagged at their clothing. But Aelara and the unicorn pressed on, their resolve unshakable. As the sun reached its zenith, they came upon a clearing, the air heavy with the scent of wildflowers. In the center of the glade stood a circle of stones, their surfaces worn smooth by the passage of time. The unicorn approached the stones reverently, its horn glowing softly in the dappled sunlight. "This is the place," it whispered. "The spirits of the forest will speak to us here." Aelara stepped forward, her heart pounding in her chest. She closed her eyes, reaching out with her mind to the ancient presence that permeated the glade. At first, there was nothing but silence, a void that stretched out into infinity. But then, slowly, a whisper began to take shape, a voice that seemed to come from the very earth itself. "Daughter of the forest," the voice intoned, its tone rich and sonorous. "You have been chosen to bear a great burden, to protect the balance that has existed since the dawn of time." Aelara's eyes snapped open, her breath catching in her throat. "What must I do?" she asked, her voice trembling with a mixture of fear and awe. The voice was silent for a long moment, as if considering its response. "Seek out the 3 sacred relics," it said at last. "The bow of the moon, the staff of the sun, and the crown of stars. Only with these artifacts can you hope to face the darkness that threatens to consume the forest." Aelara exchanged a glance with the unicorn, its eyes mirroring her own determination. "Where can we find these relics?" she asked, her mind already racing with the possibilities. "The path will be fraught with danger," the voice warned. "But trust in the guidance of the forest, and you will find your way. The first relic lies beyond the Whispering Falls, guarded by an ancient power. Prove your worth, and the bow of the moon shall be yours." With a final whisper, the voice faded away, leaving Aelara and the unicorn alone in the glade. For a long moment, neither of them spoke, each lost in their own thoughts. "The Whispering Falls," Aelara said at last, breaking the silence. "I have heard tales of their beauty, but never of the power that guards them." The unicorn nodded, its eyes sparkling with determination. "We will face whatever challenges lie ahead," it said, its voice ringing with conviction. "Together, we will find the relics and save the forest." Aelara smiled. She knew that the path ahead would be long and treacherous, but with the forest's blessing and the unicorn at her side, she was ready to face whatever trials lay in store. As they set off once more, Aelara could feel the weight of her destiny settling upon her shoulders, but she walked with her head held high, secure in the knowledge that she was exactly where she was meant to be, fighting for the forest she loved with all her heart. Chapter 9. The Whispering Falls. The journey to the Whispering Falls was arduous, testing the limits of Aelara and the unicorn's endurance. They trekked through dense undergrowth, navigated treacherous ravines, and crossed bubbling streams, their determination never wavering. As they drew closer to their destination, the air grew heavy with a strange, pulsating energy that set Aelara's nerves on edge. "We're getting close," the unicorn murmured, its ears twitching as it scanned the surroundings. "The power that guards the falls is ancient and formidable." Aelara nodded, her hand instinctively reaching for her bow. She could feel the energy thrumming through her body, a reminder of the blessing bestowed upon her by the ancient tree. "Whatever challenges await us, we'll face them together," she said, her voice steady and resolute. As they crested a hill, the sound of rushing water filled their ears, growing louder with each step. The trees parted, revealing a breathtaking sight. The Whispering Falls, a cascading curtain of shimmering water that plunged into a mist-shrouded pool. The air around the falls was alive with a faint, ethereal glow, and the very ground seemed to hum with power. "The bow of the moon," Aelara breathed, her eyes widening in awe. "It must be hidden somewhere near the falls." The unicorn's horn pulsed with a soft, silvery light as it approached the water's edge. "The guardian of the falls will not relinquish the relic easily," it warned. "We must be prepared for anything." As if on cue, the mist began to swirl and coalesce, taking on a vaguely humanoid shape. A figure emerged from the haze, its form shimmering and translucent like the water itself. It was a nymph, a spirit of the falls, her eyes glowing with an otherworldly light. "Who dares seek the bow of the moon?" the nymph demanded, her voice echoing through the clearing like the rumble of distant thunder. Aelara stepped forward, her chin held high. "I am Aelara, daughter of the forest," she declared, her voice ringing with conviction. "I have been chosen to protect the balance of the forest, and I seek the bow of the moon to aid me in my quest." The nymph regarded Aelara with a piercing gaze, her eyes seeming to peer into the depths of the elf's soul. "Many have sought the bow before you," she said, her tone measured and grave, "but only the worthy may claim it. To prove your worth, you must face a trial of the spirit." Alara's heart raced, but she refused to let her fear show. "I am ready," she said, her voice unwavering. "What must I do?" The nymph waved her hand, and the mist parted, revealing a narrow path that wound its way behind the falls. "Follow the path to the heart of the falls," she instructed. "There, you will face a reflection of your deepest fears and doubts. Conquer them, and the bow of the moon shall be yours." Aelara glanced at the unicorn, who nodded in encouragement. Together, they stepped onto the path, the mist swirling around them like a living entity. As they walked, the roar of the falls grew louder, the air heavy with moisture and the tang of ancient magic. At last, they emerged into a small cave, its walls glistening with moisture. In the center of the cave stood a pedestal, upon which rested a bow of purest silver, its limbs engraved with intricate patterns that seemed to dance in the flickering light. But as Aelara reached for the bow, a shadowy figure materialized before her, its form shifting and changing like smoke on the wind. It was a reflection of herself, but twisted and distorted, its eyes glowing with malice and despair. "You are not worthy," the shadow hissed, its voice a twisted echo of Aelara's own. "You will fail, and the forest will fall into darkness." Alara's hand trembled, her confidence wavering in the face of her own doubts given form. But then she felt the unicorn's presence at her side, its warmth and strength bolstering her resolve. "I am worthy," Aelara declared, her voice ringing through the cave. "I have been chosen by the forest itself, and I will not be swayed by fear or doubt." With a fierce cry, Aelara lunged forward, her hand closing around the bow of the moon. As her fingers touched the silver limbs, a blinding light filled the cave, banishing the shadow and filling Aelara with a surge of power unlike anything she had ever known. When the light faded, Aelara stood tall, the bow of the moon held aloft in her hand. The unicorn nuzzled her shoulder, its eyes shining with pride. "You have proven your worth," the nymph said, appearing once more before them. "The bow of the moon is yours, Aelara, daughter of the forest. Use it wisely, for the fate of the forest now rests in your hands." Aelara bowed her head in gratitude, the weight of the bow a comforting presence in her grip. "Thank you," she whispered, her voice thick with emotion. "I will not fail in my quest." As they emerged from the cave, the sun breaking through the mist, Aelara felt a renewed sense of purpose coursing through her veins. With the bow of the moon at her side, and the unicorn as her steadfast companion, she knew that no challenge was too great to overcome. But even as they celebrated their victory, a dark shadow loomed on the horizon, a reminder of the trials yet to come. The path ahead was uncertain, but Aelara knew that she would face whatever lay in store with courage and determination, for the fate of the forest depended on her success. Chapter 10. The Echoes of Darkness. As Aelara and the unicorn left the Whispering Falls behind, the weight of their newfound responsibility settled upon their shoulders. The bow of the moon, now securely strapped to Aelara's back, thrummed with ancient power, a constant reminder of the path that lay ahead. They journeyed deeper into the forest, the trees growing taller and more twisted with each passing mile. The air grew heavy and oppressive, as if the very essence of the forest was being slowly sapped away. Aelara's heart grew heavy with worry, for she knew that the darkness they sought to banish was growing stronger with each passing day. As night fell, they made camp beneath the gnarled branches of an ancient oak, its leaves rustling in the eerie stillness. Aelara sat cross-legged before the flickering flames of their campfire, her brow furrowed in concentration as she studied the intricate carvings upon the bow of the moon. "The symbols speak of an ancient evil," she murmured, her fingers tracing the delicate lines. "A darkness that once threatened to consume the forest long ago." The unicorn, its coat shimmering in the firelight, nodded solemnly. "The legend of the Dark Sorcerer," it said, its voice low and somber. "A wielder of fell magic who sought to bend the forest to his will, twisting its creatures into monstrous abominations." Aelara shuddered, the weight of the tale settling heavy upon her heart. "And now his influence stirs once more," she whispered, her eyes glinting with determination. "We must find the remaining relics, the Windsong Flute and the Scepter of Starlight, before the darkness takes hold." Suddenly, a harsh whisper echoed through the trees, a sound that chilled Aelara to the bone. The shadows around them seemed to deepen, writhing and twisting like living things. The unicorn leaped to its feet, its horn glowing with a fierce, protective light. "Show yourself!" Aelara cried, her hand reaching for the bow of the moon. From the darkness, a figure emerged, its form cloaked in shadows. It was a creature unlike any Aelara had ever seen, a twisted amalgamation of beast and man, its eyes glowing with a sickly, malevolent light. "Foolish elf," the creature rasped, its voice like the scrape of bone on stone. "You think you can stand against the rising tide of darkness? You are nothing but a flickering candle in the face of the oncoming storm." Alara's heart raced, but she stood firm, the bow of the moon held steady in her grip. "I am the chosen protector of the forest," she declared, her voice ringing with conviction, "and I will not yield to the likes of you." With a snarl of rage, the creature lunged forward, its claws outstretched. Aelara loosed an arrow from the bow of the moon, the silver shaft blazing with ethereal light. The arrow struck the creature in the heart, and it let out a shriek of agony, its form dissolving into a cloud of noxious smoke. But even as the creature fell, the whispers in the darkness grew louder, a chilling reminder of the evil that lurked in the shadows. Aelara and the unicorn stood back to back, their eyes scanning the tree line for any sign of further danger. "This is only the beginning," the unicorn warned, its voice grim. "The Dark Sorcerer's minions grow bolder with each passing day, and they will stop at nothing to prevent us from completing our quest." Aelara nodded, her jaw set with determination. "Then we must be stronger," she said, her hand tightening around the bow of the moon. "We must find the remaining relics, no matter the cost." As the first light of dawn began to filter through the trees, Aelara and the unicorn set out once more, their hearts heavy with the knowledge of the trials that lay ahead. The echoes of darkness grew louder with each step, but Aelara knew that she would not falter, for the fate of the forest rested upon her shoulders, and she would not let it fall. Chapter 11. The Whispering Shadows. As the sun rose over the horizon, its golden rays filtering through the canopy of leaves, Aelara and the unicorn pressed onward, their hearts heavy with the knowledge of the growing darkness that threatened the forest. The encounter with the Dark Sorcerer's minion had left them shaken, but it had also strengthened their resolve to find the remaining relics and put an end to the evil that sought to consume the land. The forest grew quieter as they ventured deeper, the usual chirping of birds and rustling of small creatures replaced by an eerie stillness. The air felt thick and oppressive, as if the very essence of the forest was being slowly drained away. Aelara's keen elven senses tingled with unease, and she knew that the Dark Sorcerer's influence was growing stronger with each passing moment. Suddenly, a faint whisper echoed through the trees, a sound that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. Aelara and the unicorn froze, their eyes scanning the shadows for any sign of danger. The whispers grew louder, a chilling chorus of voices that sent shivers down Aelara's spine. "The Dark Sorcerer knows of your quest," the voices hissed, their tone mocking and cruel. "He sees your every move, and he will stop at nothing to prevent you from succeeding." Alara's hand tightened around the bow of the moon, its power thrumming beneath her fingertips. "We will not be deterred by your threats," she declared, her voice ringing with conviction. "The forest will be saved, and the Dark Sorcerer will be vanquished." The whispers laughed, a sound that made the very air seem to tremble. "You are but a mere elf, and your companion is nothing more than a beast," they taunted. "What hope do you have against the might of the Dark Sorcerer?" The unicorn stepped forward, its horn glowing with a fierce, protective light. "Aelara is the chosen protector of the forest," it said, its voice calm and steady. "And I am no mere beast, but a guardian of the land. Together, we will overcome any obstacle that stands in our way." As if in response to the unicorn's words, the shadows around them began to writhe and twist, taking on the shape of grotesque creatures that lurched forward with claws outstretched. Aelara and the unicorn leapt into action, the bow of the moon singing as arrows of pure light pierced the shadowy forms. The battle was fierce, but Aelara and the unicorn fought with a determination born of their unwavering commitment to their quest. The bow of the moon proved to be a formidable weapon, its arrows cutting through the shadows like a beacon of hope in the darkness. As the last of the creatures fell, dissolving into wisps of smoke, Aelara and the unicorn stood panting, their hearts racing with the thrill of victory. But even as they caught their breath, they knew that their triumph was short-lived, for the Dark Sorcerer's power was growing stronger with each passing moment. "We must hurry," Aelara said, her voice filled with urgency. "The Windsong Flute and the Scepter of Starlight must be found before it is too late." The unicorn nodded, its eyes shining with a fierce determination. "Then let us waste no time," it said, its hooves already moving forward. "The forest depends on us, and we will not let it fall." As they set out once more, the whispers in the shadows grew fainter, but the sense of foreboding that hung over the forest only seemed to deepen. Aelara knew that the path ahead would be fraught with danger, but she also knew that she had the strength and courage to face whatever challenges lay ahead. With the bow of the moon at her side and the unicorn by her side, she would not falter, for the fate of the forest rested upon her shoulders, and she would see her quest through to the end. Chapter 12. The Heart of the Forest. As Aelara and the unicorn ventured deeper into the forest, the air grew heavy with a sense of ancient power. The trees seemed to whisper secrets long forgotten, and the very ground beneath their feet thrummed with a mysterious energy. Despite the growing darkness that threatened to engulf the land, Aelara felt a glimmer of hope stirring within her heart, a feeling that they were drawing closer to the heart of the forest, where the answers to their quest might be found. The unicorn seemed to sense it too, its steps growing more purposeful with each passing moment. "We are nearing a place of great importance," it said, its voice filled with reverence. "A sacred grove, hidden from the eyes of the world, where the spirits of the forest dwell." Alara's heart quickened at the unicorn's words, and she felt a surge of excitement coursing through her veins. Perhaps in this sacred grove, they would find the guidance they needed to locate the Windsong Flute and the Scepter of Starlight, and with them, the power to vanquish the Dark Sorcerer once and for all. As they entered a clearing, Alara's breath caught in her throat. Before them stood a ring of ancient trees, their trunks twisted and gnarled with age, their branches reaching towards the sky like grasping fingers. In the center of the grove, a shimmering pool of water reflected the dappled sunlight that filtered through the canopy, its surface as still as glass. "This is the heart of the forest," the unicorn whispered, its voice filled with awe. "A place of great power and wisdom, where the spirits of the land commune with those who seek their guidance. Aelara approached the pool, her footsteps soft upon the moss-covered ground. As she knelt beside the water's edge, she saw her own reflection staring back at her. But there was something else there too, a flicker of movement beneath the surface that made her heart skip a beat. Suddenly, the water began to ripple and swirl, and from its depths emerged a figure of pure light, a being of such beauty and grace that Aelara could scarcely breathe. It was a spirit of the forest, a guardian of the land, and in its luminous eyes, Aelara saw a wisdom that stretched back through the ages. Aelara, chosen protector of the forest. The spirit spoke, its voice a melody that seemed to emanate from the very earth itself. You have faced many trials on your journey, but the greatest test is yet to come. The Dark Sorcerer's power grows stronger with each passing moment, and only by uniting the 3 relics of the forest can you hope to defeat him. Aelara bowed her head, her heart heavy with the weight of her responsibilities. Please, she whispered, tell me where I can find the Windsong Flute and the Scepter of Starlight. Without them, I fear all will be lost. The spirit smiled, a gentle, reassuring expression that filled Aelara with a sense of peace. The relics you seek are not far from here, it said, its voice a soothing balm to Aelara's troubled soul. The Windsong Flute lies within the Whispering Caves, where the winds of the forest sing their ancient songs. And the Scepter of Starlight can be found atop the moonlit peak, where the stars themselves dance in the night sky. Aelara's heart soared with newfound hope, and she raised her head to meet the spirit's luminous gaze. Thank you, she breathed, her voice filled with gratitude. I will not fail in my quest, I swear it upon my life. The spirit nodded, its form already beginning to fade back into the shimmering waters of the pool. Go now, Aelara, and may the blessings of the forest go with you. Remember, the strength you seek lies not only in the relics you bear, but in the courage and love that reside within your own heart. As the spirit vanished, Aelara rose to her feet, her eyes shining with determination. She turned to the unicorn, a fierce smile upon her lips. We have our path, she said, her voice ringing with conviction. Let us make haste, for the Whispering Caves and the moonlit peak await, and with them, the key to saving the forest from the Dark Sorcerer's grasp. The unicorn bowed its head in agreement, its horn glowing with a soft, pulsing light. Together, they set out from the heart of the forest, their hearts filled with renewed hope and purpose. The road ahead would be perilous, but Aelara knew that with the unicorn by her side and the blessings of the forest to guide her, there was nothing they could not overcome. And so, they ventured forth, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead, for the fate of the forest, and all who called it home, rested upon their shoulders.